Next up is David Medeiros. He's a therapist here in Providence. And he's going to talk a little bit about his journey.
Thank you. Who here has heard the phrase, it takes a village? Where do you all feel that phrase came from? What's that? Oh, there's someone very smart over there. Yes. Did you hear what she said? It's an African proverb. I'm not a political person. Hillary Clinton is often given credit for that, but it is actually a African proverb. And when I look out at you folks, look at myself, hopefully included in that, that's exactly what I see, is I see the village. So I'd like you to give yourself a hand. Because when we start talking about transformation and change, it does not happen by yourself. And for Sakio, who I've had the pleasure to see perform several times, for Brad, that all of us have been influenced by people or multiple people that bring us to a place where hopefully we're embracing the kind of values and morals that we're proud to have. So a couple of things. As a therapist, a lot of times people get really wedded to one particular thing. I'm a therapist. Everybody has to go through therapy to be self-actualized, to get it, to figure it out. Well, that's not true at all. And what I saw in Everett, one of my mentors, Francis Pesco-Solido, he was asked to do this presentation here a couple of months ago. And what happened, he was unable to do it, and he asked me if I would be interested. And I said, well, I need to go online or look at what they're about, because I really don't know what they're about. And when I went online, I said, holy smokes, this is exactly what I love. It's this intersection of theater, art, music, rapping, performance, video, all these different ways for transformation. And I thought, I'm in. So then I came, and then I thought, I'm in even more, because I had the pleasure of seeing exactly what we're talking about here. For Sakio, these people that performed in this, I did my piece, but I have to tell you, I came away with an awful lot. And when I saw Sakio perform, oh yes, this power, the energy, the story, oh my goodness. I thought, oh, this becomes part of my storytelling and in my work. When I saw Mackenzie and Grace, is that you there? Oh, Grace, a moving performance, acting, dancing, all these different pieces. There was James that did, I have trouble with the pronunciation, is it parkour? Parkour. Do you have dictionary.com on your phones? I love that. I press that, but I always say the words as it comes out. Parkour. But he did this thing where he showed a video of himself in being absolutely free, doing about 1 million times more than what I could do for him. He found his place to free himself inside, emotionally, psychologically, physically, and that becomes part of this transformation and change we're talking about. There was Edgar, several different performance pieces that he did, unbelievable speaking voice and presence and dance. Let's see, there was Jacob doing a rap and singing, and last but not least, Miss Cheyenne over there, who goes to a place when she was singing. I was sitting there and I'm saying, I used to take voice lessons from a pretty famous guy in Boston called Eddie Watson. And he said, and this isn't a reflection on Cheyenne, but he said, being a great singer has little to do with having a great voice. It has to do with connecting with a song. And he would go through all of these great artists that connected with songs that would move us. And it always wasn't nothing against the people that like Christina Aguilera, but that to me is like vocal gymnastics. And to hear songs that have lasted a long time, it connects like deep down in your soul. And when I heard Cheyenne sing, and I was like, oh, what's going on with that? It moved me. And then she danced. And then it was a whole different other thing. I was like, holy moly, where did that all come from? And I know she's embarrassed to hear that. But I had to show her a couple of moves, I have to admit. I did, she does this crumping thing, and her shoulder pops like that. I did it once. I've been in physical therapy now since then for about 6 months. I tore something, but again, moved. And these stories become part of my practice. We have a young man over there, Owen, this rapper that started off in a place where he performed here the last open mic night, that he goes to a place very, very deep. So I see this transformation, this different ways of getting to the same place, which is really, is purging yourself sometimes of these things that haunt us or that we're grappling to change. So one thing that I really embrace about Everett is that it really acknowledges that there are a lot of different ways of going about this. Do I think therapy can be helpful? Absolutely. But therapy alone is never, in my opinion, the answer. There needs to be all of these kinds of things. And again, it takes a village. So different things resonate for different people. So I'll use this example. And it was kind of funny to me because Sakio was using this example. I'm 58 years old now. And when I was growing up, the Beatles was the big thing. And nothing against any of you who like the Beatles, but it did not move me. I heard it, I'd be like, oh, love, love me do. I just didn't feel it. And all that kind of music that was coming out, I wasn't moved. I didn't criticize it, it just did not move me. And then one time I heard the song by Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels, and it was Devil with a Red Dress, and it was called Blue-Eyed Soul. And the first time I heard that, I was like, wow, I can feel that. That feels like something I want to hear more, but there wasn't much on it because it was a lot of love, love me do, that kind of stuff. And then I heard the Temptations. And then, as a young kid in my teens, I said, holy smoke, what's this? And things like Psychedelic Shack and stuff like that. And you couldn't hear it on the radio, or at least the kind of radios I had, but that music moved me. And then I heard the final thing. There's a guy, his name is Danny Ray, and he was an MC. And I started to hear this thing going, and he had a little lisp, I'm not making fun of him. And he'd say, he goes, are you ready to hear the Godfather soul? And you hear the crowd, yeah. And you hear the band now. Boom, ba-dum, boom, ba-dum, ba-dum, da-dum, da-dum, da. Boom, ba-dum, 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 boom. The band's now in this groove, right? Everybody's, oh yeah. He goes, are you ready? People are starting to get crazy now. Then he starts going, James Brown, the crowd, James Brown. James Brown, the crowd, James Brown. Finally, James Brown comes out. He's like a sweating machine. He hasn't done anything yet. Sweat's pouring down his face. He's out there, he's like, ow! And then I heard this thing, he goes, jump back, kiss myself, oh! And I thought, this is it for me. I'm in. From that point, I wanted to play music. And then I heard this band called Tower of Power, and this other song called What Is Hip, and I was like, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. So I started playing drums, and I practiced in my cellar for about 4 years, in a cellar, like the rumpus room. I don't know if you remember that. And my mother used to come downstairs and go, David, I can't take it anymore. that bass drum, boom, boom, boom. When you do that James Brown thing, I can't take it. It's so just going through my head. But I did that. And for 4 years, I did that, actually 5. And then I auditioned for a band. I got the gig. And a week later, I went from my cellar to playing 30 nights in a row. And I mean it, 30 nights in a row. And the band at the time was called Naked Truth. And at the time, we were a funk band, and then eventually it changed over to more rock and roll, much to my dismay. But I liked the guys, and I liked the kind of things we played. And that was my life for the next 10 years. I had a big fro. I sent Dorothy the picture, but I guess we didn't get it out. But maybe someday you'll see it. I had a big fro. The mustache, the earring, the whole bit. That was my life. Now it's quite thin. Or as my daughters say, Dad, you got a big bald spot in the back. It's okay. So, in pursuing that, and I want to have time time for questions and all that kind of thing. So I'll wrap up some of this pretty quickly. I played 10 years, had a great time. We recorded, toured, did all that kind of stuff. But at some point, I had a yearning for something more. So eventually, I left the band, and I went back to school. And long story short, I went to CCRI, and I started taking general ed courses. I took some placement exams. I tested as low as you could possibly test and still be a human being, because I played drums for 10 years. I got really good. I took lessons for all like 15 years straight. But I didn't have any academic skills to speak of. And I took these general courses, and I remember, I'll just stand in front, I remember walking on the 6th floor, and I was walking around and going, what am I doing, and how am I going to do this? And I was used to playing from 500, 1,000, the most we ever played for were 10,000 people, and I'm taking these general ed courses and thinking, and then I took my first psychology course. And I had that same spark for psychology as I did for music. I could feel it. I was like, wow, I kind of get it. I didn't know everything, but it made sense to me, and especially in the profession I had, where it was a lot of psychology. So then I met one of the most important people in my life, which was his name was Anthony Testa, and he was a professor at CCRI, and he was one of the greatest guys I ever knew, because he was a great teacher. He took me under his wing. He became my first mentor. And from that point of being a guy in his mid-30s, not having any idea what he wanted to do, Anthony taught me about the passion of doing something like this and how important it was to learn it from the base up. Because if you're going to do this profession, you should know your stuff. I love to have fun, but you still have to have that kind of base of knowledge if you're going to go in the places that one of the first people I met was from Cambodia. And I consulted with one of my mentors, Belle Evans, and she said, David, you cannot work with this person unless you got the stuff. And I wasn't sure if I had the stuff. So I needed to really study and practice hard before I felt that I was capable of bearing witness to the kind of stories that Sakio knows about all too well. So from that, 6 years of college, 2 years of residency, I'm 20 years into my practice now. I love what I do. I love it. I love it, love it, love it, love it. I don't call it going to work. I say I'm going to the office. There hasn't been a day yet where I haven't said, wow, I can't wait to see what's going on and what's happening. When we think about transformation and change, again, there's universal themes. Sakio used the term, what did you say, the domino effect. Brad had alluded to things about how to play it forward, those kind of things. That's the term I have in my life about how do I play it forward? How do I do something for others? Because in addition to Anthony Testa, there was probably 7 other people easily that mentored me in this process. And it wasn't all about psychology. There was a host of different things that I brought into this. So I'll leave you with this, and then we'll have some time for questions and things like that. I don't know, but I want you to think about your most valuable lesson that you've learned. That the person or the people or the place where you learned one of the most valuable lessons that you have in your life. Something that's guided you, and sometimes it's not a great experience. In fact, my greatest learning experiences have been about bad stuff And I've been able to transform that, well, that was bad, but I want to make it into something good at some point. So think about the people, the place, the group of things that have happened to make that happen for you. And because we're all part of this village, and I feel privileged to be a part of you. Thank you very much.